New York.
Apple.
Hot dogs.
Dollar.
Hollywood.
Democracy.
Freedom.
Rock and roll.
Wall Street.
Statue of Liberty.
Los Angeles, California.
McDonald's.
Jeans.
Bubblegum. Video games. Nintendo.
What's so great about America?
Every Saturday night, 7 to 9 p.m., explore American culture and language.
With Master Steve,
Ina MK,
And Hasba Cutie.
tune in to find out about what makes America so great.
The Great American Weekend. Listen exclusively on Radio Van 103.1.
Also, watch us on the Radio Von Facebook page, website, and mobile app.
Good evening, dear listeners of Radio
Welcome
Van.
to Radio Von, and welcome to the Great
American Weekend.
I am Master Steve here with Ina MK.
Hey, Steve. How are
Hey,
you doing?
Ina, I'm good. How are you?
Great. How were the past 2 weeks for you?
They were good, but was it 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh
it
my
was.
gosh.
Can you imagine?
Time is just flying by for me
I know.
this fall so far. I can't believe that it's fall, and I can't believe that it's already October.
And I can't believe this is our 28th episode.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. In 2 episodes, we're having a 30th anniversary, so maybe we can have a cake here in the studio. Why not? So, ladies and gentlemen, we're here on air till 9 p.m. You can watch us live on www.radiovan.fm. Also, our official Facebook page, which is Radio Van FM 103.1. Also, you can download our application, Radio Van, and listen and watch us anywhere around the globe. Also, be active. You can call in, ask your questions, 560-901. And you can write your comments under the live video, which is right now being broadcasted. Tonight, yes.
We are not quite everywhere, but almost.
Yeah, almost.
Right?
Almost everywhere. Not in China, for sure.
The
Not
Great
yet.
Firewall.
Yeah. And tonight, our theme is...
Well, because what is today?
Today,
Today
I
is...
have to congratulate you, Master Steve, the greatest teacher of all times in this studio that has
Oh my
been...
gosh.
Yeah.
What did they put in your drink? Oh, wait, I made your coffee.
You made my coffee, so you know better. Happy World Teachers Day.
Yes, it is
Steven.
International Teachers Day today, and so
I think that those kids are lucky to have you as their teacher because you have such a big variety of knowledge, such a wide
I think more often than not, I just confuse them.
worldview. Confusion makes people think, so I think that's one of the most important keys.
That's a good way to look at it.
And also, we are going to speak about...
What? Oh, well, we have a guest.
Yes, of
We
course.
have a guest.
From 8:10 p.m., we are going to welcome in the studio Flex Program alumna, founder and CEO of MAROG Creative Agency, Magda Markosyan. Beautiful, young, smart lady.
Now, what is the Flex program? I know we've talked about that before.
Flex is the Future Leaders Exchange Program,
Okay.
which made me go all the way to the United States when I was 15 because I got the scholarship. 50 students each year among many participants are chosen to be in this program.
So 50 just from Armenia
Yeah.
every year?
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's great.
So that was my first ever journey on the plane, by the way.
And that's one heck of a long plane
Yeah, halfway around the
ride
world.
to be your first.
The first and the most intense and life-changing experience, I would say. So that's, again, a part of teaching. And that was really not only a lesson of English language, and exchange of cultures, but also a life lesson. I mean,
Oh yeah, I think with something like that, with an exchange program where you go and live in a different country and study, you probably learn more outside of the classroom than you do inside the classroom.
yeah, of course. And being an only child here in Yerevan,
Oh,
living
yeah.
all your life with your parents, and then all of a sudden you're there, as I said, halfway around the world, and with a living in a family which has a different world view and different mentality.
So, I mean, I have a little bit of that experience. I spent a semester from beginning of September until December in Rome, in Italy, when I was in college. But I was
that's
living in
where
a dorm.
your roots are.
Well,
kind of.
I mean,
partially.
yeah, the very tippy tips of
Yeah.
my roots. I mean, my family's been in the United States for over 100 years at this point.
Yeah.
So, you know, to a certain extent, I'm Italian in name only.
Brand. Italian brand.
Yeah.
So that's why this program is called Flex, because it makes you more flexible. You become also, you become more flexible to life circumstances. You learn a lot of things. You learn about different people, different cultures, different worldviews, and that's what you take back with you to your home country and try to make a difference in your own way.
That's great. And so if we've got any, high school age listeners out there, you should check into that. See if you can be part of that program like Ina MK was and Magda. We'll have to ask her about teachers and teaching and her experience.
She's done a lot of trainings and mentoring, and so
yeah, but I mean her
share.
experience there compared to her experience here.
Yeah. We,
right,
Magda,
so we're looking forward to
we
that.
have a lot of questions prepared for you, so get
and I'm
ready.
coming up with even more as we speak.
So Steve, what do you think, what makes...
Why don't you go first?
Okay, so ask me.
So what do you think makes a good teacher? It's International Teacher Day.
Yeah.
What do you think makes a good teacher?
Well, I will give my list of qualities that I think that a teacher should have to be a teacher. Warm.
Qualities, not qualifications.
Yeah. Warmth, because my first impressions and memory from my first grade teacher is connected with warmth. So that's how I remember her till now. So I think that's one of the most important things.
Especially for the younger grades, that's a big thing.
Enthusiastic, caring, that's also kind of connected with warmth. Patient, of course. No, there's no doubt that a teacher should have a lot of patience. And prepared and organized. Should have good communication skills, also listening skills, because a lot of students, they talk a lot, they have a lot of questions to ask. Friendliness, strong work ethic, and good sense of humor, because as in any profession, good sense of humor saves us in many.
When things go wrong, things always end up going wrong at some point. Right? When things go wrong, it's good to be able to approach it with a sense of humor and a bit of determination.
And now we're ready to go on a break, and I'll be looking forward to hear Master Steve's opinion on what makes a good teacher. Stay tuned.
Oh, good. So I got a little bit of time to think something up.
Yeah. You get a bonus here. Stay tuned. This is the Great American Weekend. We'll be here till 9 p.m., and we'll be looking forward to welcoming our guest in the studio, Magda Markosyan.
And if you're out there listening, feel free to call in.
560901.
Come and hang with us every weekend. It'll be a blast.
A blast?
Yeah, a good time.
No, come chill with us. It'll be cool.
Chill?
Yeah, relax, hang out.
Come chew the fat with us.
Yuck! No way! Join us!
on the Great American Weekend, where we'll help you decode American slang.
Welcome back to the Great American Weekend here on Radio Vaughn. I am Master Steve here with Ina MK. And
hello, for those of you just tuned in.
and now I guess it's my turn to talk about what I think makes a good teacher. And I've got a question here, because you were talking about a lot of this sort of the warmth and the compassion, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
But when, especially for the younger grades, and I guess my perspective is, I've always taught in, with a few exceptions of being a substitute teacher for like first grade and kindergarten, which was, I think more than I could handle.
I bet.
I'm used to, middle school, high school, and then college. But here in Armenia, in first grade, do the students have the same teacher all day? Or do they change teachers for the different subjects?
Most of the time they have the same teacher, like math and Armenian language and like, for instance, drawing. But they have a separate teacher for English language, for Russian language, and for singing. So that's our schedule. Yeah. That's my son's schedule for the week. So now I know. Nice. I'm remembering everything that we had. Yeah. He's going to the same school that I went to. So
that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Nostalgic.
Yeah. So in the U.S., the first several grades up until middle school, you have all of your general subjects with the same teacher. And then what they call like specialty classes, which would be language classes. But when I was going to school in the U.S., you didn't have language classes in elementary school. Yeah. You usually didn't start that until sixth grade, or most of the time it was ninth grade. But then music and art and that would be about it. Everything else was with the same teacher all day. Yeah. And when you've got the same teacher all day, then that sort of compassion and attachment is really important.
You know what my son told me after the first day of school? He's like, it would be great to have two moms, you and Miss Hayrapetan, who is his teacher now.
Nice.
So I was like, okay.
So that's going well.
Yeah, that's going well. I guess you like school.
But for me, thinking about the upper grades, because especially then in sixth grade or seventh grade, whenever you move to middle school in the U.S., you are with a different teacher for each subject. Yeah. So you're moving classrooms, you're moving teachers, and at that point, I think the variety of teachers and the variety of styles becomes important. You will have some teachers that are very nurturing and very compassionate, and you'll have other ones that really they're very strict and almost mean.
Yeah, sometimes.
And I think there's value in all of that, especially because when you get out into the real world, you're going to have to deal with and work with people.
Different people.
Different people with different styles. So to be able to move around like that. But I think in general, for me, a teacher, I kind of thought of three things. One of them is a good teacher needs to be, I would say, on their toes, which is an English saying that we have that means they're able to move and react kind of quickly. They're flexible. What a lot of people I don't think realize is that teachers tend to do the same thing year after year. A lot of times we do the same material every year, but it's not the same because the students change. The classroom is different. There's a different dynamic there when you have different students. And so a teacher should always be trying to reach the students as they are and where they are. And so you need to be able to adapt. You need to be able to
Flexible.
see where they are and try to meet them halfway. Another thing is teachers are not entertainers.
Yeah, of course.
School should, there's something to be said about learning through entertainment, but if you always learn through being entertained, later on in life or at some point, you're not going to know how
to deal with the world,
the difficulty of learning on your own. If you're always entertained when you're learning, then somebody's always going to have to make the material entertaining for you to be able to learn it.
Right.
But teachers are, I think, storytellers. And sometimes they're telling boring stories, and sometimes they're telling exciting stories, sometimes they're telling funny stories.
And sometimes you realize that it was a really interesting story when you grow up, actually, and remember it.
Yeah. And so the teachers need to be able to take kind of these dry facts, this dry information that their students need to learn and understand and then learn how to use at some point. They need to take those dry facts, that dry information, and make it interesting. Put it into a context so that the students can not only understand it,
but digest
really get it.
Yeah.
And then start to use it.
And we need to be flexible as well, because now it's time for advertisement and also a music break. Excuse me. So we're going to listen to Be Nice by Black Eyed Peas right after the advertisement. And then we'll be back in the studio discussing teaching and everything connected with it. Yes,
with
Steve?
Ina MK.
And Master Steve.
Here on the Great American Weekend.
Yoo-hoo. Hey, Steve, do you like Chash Harissa and Spas?
Yeah, I love them. But what would you call them in English?
Yeah, I'd call them cowfoot stew, chicken porridge, and sour yogurt soup.
Sorry I asked.
The Great American Weekend.
Welcome back to the Great American Weekend here on Radio Vaughn.
We're here with Master Steve.
And Ina MK. And now it's time for Ina to lay some quotes on us.
And I would like to remind, for those of you who just tuned in, that we're talking about World Teachers Day. And once again, congratulations to Master Steve on this wonderful occasion.
And to all the other teachers out there.
Teachers. And thank you. Thank you so much for your patience and everything that you teach to us and to our children. And now, let's move to quotes. Teaching is a very noble profession that shapes the character, caliber, and future of an individual. If the people remember me as a good teacher, that will be the biggest honor for me. Abdul Kalam. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, the great teacher inspires. William Arthur Ward. And I agree with that, because the great, I would like to remember a little episode from my school. We had a history teacher. His name was Hovannes Aznaurian. And you know what he did really often? Besides teaching us modern history, Armenian history, and world history, he would bring along vinyls and put
vinyl records,
nice. And put them during like Led Zeppelin.
Really? What year was
Stevie
this?
Wonder, Deep Purple, and all kinds of like classic good music. And he would teach us to hear, to listen, and to understand this type of music. At that point, some kids were laughing, some kids wouldn't be listening or wouldn't understand the music. But then, after years, he would tell us about different really interesting books to read. He taught me about the three friends. Have you read this book by?
No, I don't think so.
Eric Maria Remarque, Three Friends.
Oh.
It's a really, really good book. So he had great impact on our taste in music or taste in reading. So I think this is one of the greatest.
Yeah, just exposing you to all sorts of different
So
things.
it wasn't just history, just like you explained me the other day on the test.
Oh, well, yeah, and we'll get to that in slang. We still need to get to slang, but I want to go back to the quote for a second, because I think actually that a great teacher needs to do all of those things.
Yeah.
They need to tell the students, then they need to explain, then they need to demonstrate, and then they need to inspire the students to do it themselves.
I guess inspire includes in it all of the above. Maybe that's what the author meant.
Yeah. Well, I hope so.
Yeah. So teachers make us think and make us love learning. I think that's one of the most important things.
Well, even if they don't make us love learning, they teach us. They have to teach us how to learn. Yeah.
So the next quote is, find a good teacher, as I found for my sons. I feel the worst thing you can do is to try and teach your own children yourself, because there is a natural rebellion that occurs. Keith Emerson. And here I want to ask you, Master Steve, what do you think about teaching your own kids? Did you have trouble with that at some point?
I don't know if I ever explicitly tried to teach my kids, because for me, teaching is something kind of that happens in the classroom, and I've never had my kids in the classroom, and I've actively made sure that I never taught my kids in the classroom or taught at the school that they were in school. And I've had that opportunity presented to me, and I denied it because I don't think it's a good idea.
Why?
I think
Why not? For the same
because
reason?
because as a parent, you're always teaching your kids, but not explicitly. Mm-hmm. You're implicitly teaching your kids just by the way you do things, by the way you act, by the way and I'm the type of person, if you haven't been able to tell, I'm the type of person. The foghorn?
Is the window open?
The tugboat's coming in.
I'm going to close the window. Here we go.
I'm the type of person that just, goes on and on explaining things. So my kids would ask me a question.
I bet.
And I explain.
You're
and sometimes I explain it
teacher.
To death. But even if you're not that type of person, you do teach your kids a lot of things.
By your own example.
Own example, and just by being around them. I mean, so, then trying to switch over to being a teacher and doing it explicitly in the classroom, trying to teach specific material, that I think becomes too difficult.
Yeah.
And becomes, so I would agree that you really shouldn't, for the most part, try to be your kid's teacher in a formal sense, because you already are in a much wider, broader sense.
True. And I really like
this
one. So
really, it's also international parents.
Yeah.
In a way.
Could be. So this next one, I really like this one. When I had my first voice lesson, I was 15 years old, and I had a really good teacher. This is what made all the difference. A good teacher will teach you the technique, but also how to listen to your voice. Cecilia Bartoli. So a teacher actually teaches you there is a different meaning to this, to hear your own voice, and the meaning of to understand yourself, to hear yourself, to hear your own soul, to understand who you are.
Well, I mean, just teaching and education in general helps to socialize you, helps to make you part of the community, but at the same time, it also should help you, understand yourself, because as a person you have something unique to bring to the table always. And so a good teacher helps you find your voice, not just literally.
That's what we mean, not literally, but also in a different sense. I think we should move to some slang.
Oh, really?
And if we
You
have
think
time,
so?
we can
Okay.
add some more
Because
quotes
time is
to it.
just
Yeah,
flying
yeah,
by, isn't it?
as
Okay.
always.
Let's see. Let me scroll down here. So a bunch of education slang for today. We've got apple polisher, which this goes with the American tradition of bringing, and I don't think anybody ever does it, but bringing an apple to the teacher. And so the apple polisher is somebody who's is a kiss up.
Yeah.
Which do I have to explain what that is?
Maybe,
A kiss up.
why not?
A kiss up is somebody who just tries to get on your good side. Is kind
Brown
of
nose.
Well, yeah, brown noser is another, which is, if you think about where that
Yucky.
comes from, it's
Yucky.
really kind of disgusting.
Yeah,
So
I know.
a kiss up or a kiss ass.
Yeah.
If I can say that on the air.
So this is a really useful phrase. Remember?
Yeah, apple polisher. Teacher's pet, which is like
that's
the
another.
teacher's favorite student. The student that always gets or is always volunteering, is always doing
Active.
special things for the teacher, all that kind of stuff. There's the phrase "saved by the bell," which this comes from that whole thing where the teacher asks a question and then
the
points
bell
at
rings.
you and says, "You have to answer it." And then
And
the bell
you're
rings
freaked
and
out.
class is over, and you're like, "Ha ha!" Everybody gets up and leaves, and you don't have to answer the question. So, saved by the bell.
Yeah, I love those moments when you're not ready for the class. Yeah, revealed.
Yeah, to make the grade means to do it well enough. Mm-hmm. Okay, to make the grade.
It's a good sense.
Yeah.
In a good sense. Yeah.
Oh yeah, to do it well enough. I mean, you
Yeah.
made the grade. It means you succeeded. You did it well. Teaching to the test, and this is one that you mentioned earlier, and this is something that drives me nuts as a teacher.
I know.
And it's the idea that a teacher will only teach the material that will
Is
be
this
on
enough?
the exam. Teach just enough. Which often means, especially in this day and age of standardized tests, which are often multiple choice tests,
Yeah.
it means just teaching them to be able to fill in the blank, to memorize a name or a date or a definition, which really,
It's not a
going
good
back to that
thing.
quote, what that would be like the third or the second one, you just tell them and then they just are able to repeat it.
Yeah, you just tell them. You teach
And
them.
that is, if that's all that teaching is,
That's not enough.
no, definitely
Guys.
not. Definitely not.
Hey, teachers
So-
out there, don't do that.
Yeah. So the idea of teaching to the test is just giving them enough so that they can pass the test, which so often now is a standardized test, just multiple choice. And that's just lame. That lame is another, it's just lazy. It's just not doing enough. To cram. Did you ever do any cramming when you were studying in the U.S.?
I think I did.
Yeah. Did you ever pull an all-nighter?
I don't know.
Okay. To cram means to study a lot at the last minute. So
Yeah.
you've got this exam coming up. It's material that you
Procrastination.
procrastinate.
That's
yeah.
about me.
Yeah. And so you've got the exam the next
I
day and you
know.
really haven't looked at the material all semester. And so you're going to study it all in like 24 hours and try to pass the test. That's cramming. It's like trying to shove everything, cram it all into your brain at the last minute. And a lot of times when you are cramming, you end up pulling an all-nighter, which means you stay up all night to get the
Yeah.
job done.
True.
And
That
that's not
happened
just
with me a
and that's
lot.
yeah, and that's not just with schoolwork. You can pull an all-nighter and work trying to get a report done and stuff like that. To say you aced it means that you did it perfectly or you got an A, like A for, aced for A.
Aced. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to nail it. Yeah.
Yeah, to nail it is the same thing. Although that these days is often used in a sarcastic manner.
Really?
You nailed it.
You nailed it.
Yeah, meaning sarcastic manner. It literally means, not literally, but the phrase traditionally means you nailed it, means you did it just right. But now it's used sarcastic. Oh yeah, you nailed it. You just completely failed. But
Yeah, it depends on what in what voice you're saying.
oh
that.
yeah, the tone of voice makes all the difference.
Cut glass.
Cut class or to
Cut class.
ditch class means to not go to a class.
Yeah.
You'd just not show up. So you're cutting class or you're ditching class.
If we translate this phrase from Armenian, literally, it would mean fly away from the class.
Which is pretty much what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're just not going. Because to ditch means to lose. So you lose the class. You just don't go. And that works for school in general, too. You can just cut school today and just not go or ditch school. To drop a class means to, pull yourself out of it. A lot of people will do that in college. They'll start a class, and if they take the first exam and don't do really well, there's a lot of times still time to drop the class so that it doesn't go on your record, it doesn't go on your transcript, and you don't get a grade for it. To hit the books means to study.
Hit the books.
Yeah, hit the books. Flunked means to fail, to get an F. Because, the grading system in the U.S.,
F,
A, B, C, D, and F. Failure.
The F word.
Failure, yes.
The F word is always bad.
Yeah. There's the to slack off, which isn't just a school thing. And you can do this anywhere at any time. To slack off means to not do enough.
Yeah.
To slack off, to be lazy. I'm just slacking off, just sitting around, not really doing anything. There's a specific type of slacking off that happens with seniors. It's called the senior slide.
Oh, they're already so proud that they're finishing.
Well, I mean,
school.
they've done well enough to get into a college. And they're probably gonna pass all their classes, and so at a certain point they just kind of stop caring and stop working. So that whole last month of your senior year, or maybe 2 months of your senior year, is kind of the senior slide. You're gonna spend more time hanging out with your friends, doing activities, cherishing the time that you have left at this school with these people, and not really doing all that much homework, because unless you fail the classes and don't graduate, things are pretty much set for the next year.
Yeah.
So that's the senior slide. They sometimes call it senioritis as well.
Itis?
Yeah, the senior sickness.
So many interesting phrases tonight.
To brush up on means to review. So instead of cramming at the last minute, what you really should be doing the day before the exam is brushing up on the information.
Yeah.
Reviewing it, because you've been learning it all along. Yeah, right. Because you've been learning it all along, and you just need to review it before the exam.
To look through it.
Hand in your assignments when you give them to the teacher, okay? Yeah. And then a handout is something else. A handout is something that the teacher gives to you
with
you to read, or no. A handout is something that they give to you, like a reading assignment or a worksheet that you need to fill in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. In and out.
In and out. And then a pop quiz is a surprise quiz, like a little test. It's usually not worth a lot of points, but it's there still basically just to make sure that you're paying attention and that you did the reading. I give pop quizzes. And the joke is that with some of my classes, I give pop quizzes, like surprise quizzes, so regularly that they're not a surprise anymore.
Surprise
they'll come in and they'll sit down and class will begin, and they'll get out their paper and their pen and we're ready for the quiz. And if I say we're not having one today, they'll be like, well, that's a surprise.
You are a good teacher, I bet, indeed. Can I join your class?
Yeah, come by sometime.
Okay, Master Thief, thank you for all the information.
Now we've got some time. Let's get back to the quotes.
And all the useful words and phrases that we learned. This is a the teacher's holiday indeed. And now we're back to our quotes, and let me see where we were. So one good teacher in a lifetime may sometimes change a delinquent into a solid citizen, says Philip Wiley.
And that, I think, is, that's really true. You know, one good teacher can
change your
touch
whole life.
a kid in such a way that they go from being, somebody who is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, is not conscientious or kind of law-abiding or whatever, a delinquent, and just turn them around and get them more interested, get them inspired, get them believing in themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Good teaching must be slow enough so that it is not confusing, and fast enough so that it is not boring. Sidney Harris.
The golden mean. That's a tough one, too.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. And that's the sort of thing where it all depends on
the students
your
as well.
students.
Yeah. Because you never know who catches the information easily, and the others are slow, so you can never find.
And then there are the students
middle.
that listen to you and say, "Oh yeah, I got it. I understand." And then, like, the next class, you ask them about it, and they're like, "Oh, I don't remember."
I forgot.
Like, you understood, and so I stopped talking about it, and as a result, you don't remember it.
You forgot, yeah.
So sometimes you do have to bore them just to pound it into their head a little bit.
I know that happens with my son a lot. Because I guess there's too much information for the beginning, and he understands, but then he doesn't remember the stuff, and you have to repeat it over and over again. So the next quote is, teaching should be such that what is offered is perceived as a valuable gift and not as a hard duty. Einstein.
Yeah, ideally, yeah. But then again, sometimes they're just not gonna appreciate the value of it, and you just do have to make it a hard task and make them, and they'll appreciate it later. I mean, my favorite teacher from high school, the one who had the most influence on me, Mr. Studer, I was able to enjoy his classes. They were not easy by any means.
Because
they were difficult.
Were mature enough to understand.
Well, I had been told so much about him before I ended up in one of his classes by older people. And, it was, he always had students coming back to his classroom, their
With
first
questions.
year of college, their second year of college, coming back and saying, I hated your class when I was taking it, but if I wouldn't have suffered through that, I wouldn't be able to handle college. And that's totally true for Mr. Studer. He did that for so many students.
Sometimes
they
we
hated
don't
him.
value it at that point.
Exactly.
And then appreciate it later.
Yeah.
And now we're ready for the break, and we'll be back in a few minutes after the advertisement, and then we're going to listen to Andrew Bird, Emetosis. Stay tuned. This is the Great American Weekend, and I'd like to remind that you can call 560901. Call in, ask your questions, tell us more phrases of slang that are connected to teaching.
Tell us what you think the qualities of a good teacher are.
Yeah, that's easy, and we will help you guys, so do not hesitate. And you can also write your comments under our live broadcast video, which will be on till 9 p.m., and pretty soon we'll get ready to welcome our guest, Magda Markosyan. Stay tuned. The Great American Weekend is here.
Hello?
Hi, is your refrigerator running?
No, it doesn't have any legs.
Some American jokes just don't work with foreigners.
Welcome back to the Great American Weekend here on Radio Von. I'm just waiting for someone to call in and prank call us.
Yeah.
I think that would be
cool.
That would be absolutely priceless. If somebody called in and pranked us, that would be
You
great.
can call in and do this. Pretending to speak English.
This is the time in the show where we usually talk about the news.
But
I don't want to talk about the news.
because we're having fun teaching stuff
Yeah.
tonight.
I mean, in part because even though everybody's talking about all sorts of things in the U.S., impeachment, really nothing has happened.
Yeah,
Nothing.
Just like the Mueller report.
Nothing. Exactly. And I'm not going to drag this out. If impeachment happens, it will happen, and we'll talk about it.
We'll know about it.
But yeah, I mean, like nothing is happening right now. Literally nothing of importance. It's all just sound and fury, signifying nothing. Which is a quote from well, actually, it's a quote from Shakespeare, but it is used in a William Faulkner book as the title, Sound and Fury. The sound and fury of a story told by an idiot, signifying nothing.
So this is all about impeachment for tonight.
That's all I'm going to say about it for tonight. But, there's one thing that I wanted to talk about tonight, and we can do that now. October is also, amongst many other things, it's a busy month, but it's National Art and Humanities Month. And I really want to talk about this tonight as we're talking about teaching and education, because I think all over the place, here in Armenia and in the U.S., there's a huge emphasis on STEM in education, which it stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, STEM. And while I know that those things are important, they are kind of the foundation of so many of the advances that are around us, things that we think are advances, the comforts that we have around us. And in order to continue, this sort of progress in society in terms of convenience and health and whatever, we need to invest time, money, and energy into STEM. I understand that completely. But it seems like some of that is coming at the expense of art and the humanities. And that really frustrates and annoys me as somebody who's trained in philosophy and literature, for people to say, well, philosophy isn't important. Science took over.
Who says
we don't
that?
need philosophy anymore. Oh, tons of people. Philosophy is irrelevant because science has replaced it. Wow. You really don't understand philosophy or science. I mean, science is not meant to answer questions of meaning. Science is meant to answer questions about the physical world. And philosophy and theology, religion, are meant to answer questions of meaning and value. Science is value neutral, but we are not value neutral. The world is not value neutral. So if we're not engaging in philosophy, if we're not engaging in the arts, in the humanities, in a study of history that isn't just dates and facts, that doesn't, talk about the meaning and the significance of events and how the same events have had different meaning and different significance to different people on different sides of the events, of course, but also to different people at different times. And I think we'll talk about this a little bit next week.
Yeah.
Right? Our theme next week, next week is, later on this week, I think it's the 9th of October, is Leif Erikson Day. And then we've got Columbus Day, which has also now been made into Indigenous Peoples Day. And we'll talk about that next week, I think, a bit. But, the importance of history and understanding the dynamics of history. And this is not scientific at all.
Keep our identity.
Well, not just identity, I mean meaning. Identity and meaning are connected with one another. So, like the teacher that you were talking about, your history teacher,
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
he forever made his impact to our
and
lives.
not even through history
Not
necessarily.
even through standard program
Yeah.
that he was supposed to teach us.
Well, yeah, you know, bringing in those records and exposing you to music. I've talked about Camille Pagula in the past, and so I read one of her books back in the spring, and she teaches art history, and even a little bit of kind of literature and music and whatever. She was talking about how the context of humanities and art that students come to college with these days is so limited and so poor sometimes. You know Louis Armstrong, right? You know who Louis, and you know his song. Well, it's not his song, but he's probably has the most famous version of it. Go Down, Moses.
Let my people go.
Yeah. And she was saying, this was like 10 years ago already, she had the text of that song in her class as something that they were studying as part of like the history of pop culture. And her students didn't know the song at all. They also didn't know who Moses was. So the song made absolutely no sense to them. And but they knew about science.
Yeah.
Well, crap. You know, science doesn't make us human.
Should be a complex approach, I think. It's not like
definitely.
a one subject thing.
No, but
teach.
because, you know, they say, well, why do we need to study literature? We're not going to be literature teachers. Why do we need to study literature? We're not going to write literature.
It's like thinking that if you're a dentist, you should not know any other. Oh, we have a caller. Yeah. Hello?
Welcome to the Great American Weekend.
Hello, who is this?
Hello, are you hear me?
Yes, we hear you well. Do you hear us?
Oh yeah. For first, I want to say sorry for my English.
Oh, that's okay. We're here to help you out. So
Your English sounds fine to me so far.
Yeah, what's your name?
My name's Aram.
Hi, Aram.
Welcome, Aram.
Hello.
Thanks for calling in.
Thank you too. I just want to say, just congratulate you guys because today is Teachers' Day.
Thank you. Thank you.
And today, now I'm in gym. I'm trained and I listen your show.
Oh, we can hear your breathing.
Thank you.
We can figure out that you're at the gym.
And every week I try to learn something and appreciate that, and just want to say thank you, guys. You are the best.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, and and thanks for having the courage to call us, because we know a lot of people do not call in because they are afraid to make mistakes in English. But this is why we're here to support the conversation.
Maybe now I'm training and I'm feeling strong.
Yeah, don't be afraid. Yeah. We're kind.
We're
most
here.
of the time. So, do you want to share anything else with us? What are your thoughts about teachers?
I just want to just congratulate all teachers because in life we are learning, and just to appreciate that. Congratulations all the teachers who spend their time to learn something. All the people.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Have a nice week. Have a good night.
And you too.
You too. Have a good workout.
Enjoy your time at the gym.
Rest of the weekend.
Thanks for calling, and we continue on with our show. So, where were we?
What I was saying is, people aren't going to be writers, right? Not everybody's going to be a writer. But not everybody's going to be a mathematician. Not everybody's going to be a scientist. Yeah, the balance of all of these things are kind of what make us human. And literature is a way of learning through someone else's experience, through someone else's thoughts. Philosophy is the same thing. And so when we start kind of devaluing and then reducing the amount of literature, because that's not going to lead to somebody having a job. Well, I'm sorry, education is not all about jobs and what you're going to do in the future. It's about who you're going to be, and you are more than just your job. And to be a more interesting, diverse, thoughtful person, you
and
need
at the end
art.
of the day, there is
You need art,
philosophy
and
in anything.
I can find it in just about anything.
Of course. And I'm sure that we can find philosophy in the upcoming advertisement break.
That'll take a lot of thought. But Antonio Gramsci would totally agree with you.
Yeah.
That's something for another time, though.
And we're ready to welcome Magda Markosyan in our studio in a bit.
After this commercial break.
So do not hesitate. Take Aram's example and call in 560-901. It's not that scary. Or write your comments under our live video broadcast. We're here till 9 p.m. and we're going to discuss teaching, mentoring, and all kinds of interesting stuff. The Great American Weekend will be back in a bit.
Nina, what would make America great again?
More barbecue.
No, we need more freedom. That's what'll make it great.
Join us on Great American Weekend.
And help us solve all of America's problems.
Every show is recorded by the NSA and sent to the White House.
Yes, it is, and we're back in the studio.
And I'm starting to think that freedom without barbecue just doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
So we need the barbecue with the freedom.
Doesn't make any sense. We're back in the studio and we're here ready to welcome our guest, beautiful, smart, creative, amazing, Magda Markosyan. Hello.
Hey guys, it's a pleasure to be here.
How do you feel on the red couch of honesty?
Oh, it feels comfortable.
Okay, good. So relax, lean back.
Don't lean back too far, though. You still have to speak into the microphone.
Okay. Is that good?
Yeah, that's
good. You're good.
That's good.
So let's start from the beginning. What does connect you with America?
A lot of things.
First of all,
I went to the States when I was 15 years old I'm a Flex alumni, and I studied there for one academic year, and I kept going to the States several times. Every time. Once I was there as a tourist, once I was there as a student again at the university, once I was there as a mentor, and again as a tourist, and again there for a forum. So
you're saying it's addictive.
So
yeah,
Judy Jumpai.
I miss it.
Oh, we have a caller.
Yay.
Oh, we have a caller. Let's see what we have. Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear well. Can you hear us?
Yes. Hello, how are you?
Great. We're fine. What's your name?
My name is Veronica, or Nika shortly. I hope Mr. Steven remembers me.
Yes,
hi.
of course.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling in, Veronica.
Thank you. I was listening to radio and found out that Mr. Steven is talking, and I found out that today is Teacher's Day, and I thought that I have to call and say thank you to one of my favorite teachers. And I think that I am calling, my entire class will tell this, that with the help of Mr. Steven, we finally started to talk in English, even if we make some mistakes, but be confident. And with the help of Mr. Steven classes, I was able to, I get a chance to enter university where classes are taught in English.
Ah, so, congratulations.
Yeah,
but
you.
Only
I
one thing.
Graduated, but
only one thing. In this studio, Mr. Steven is Master Steve.
Nika, it's great to hear your voice.
You.
Thank you for calling.
Thanks for calling. Do you
Thank
have
you
any
so
questions to our guest?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Do you have any questions to our guest, or you just called in to say hello to Master Steve?
I just called to say thank you and hello. Yeah,
okay, thank
you. I
you.
found out that today is Teacher's today, so I have to call.
Thank you. Have a
Yeah.
great evening and hope you enjoy your communication with Master Steve, and we'll get back to our
Yeah.
conversation. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Oh, that's really nice. This is what happens when you get the good feedback from your student. And now, where were we?
So I was telling you about my connection with the United States. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. And we're about to go on a break, so let's not start any other. Let's not ask any other questions because we'll have to interrupt you then. Stay tuned. This is the Great American Weekend. We'll be back shortly. Well, not really, because we have an advertisement break and then a song, Dr. Funk by Debul, if I pronounce it correctly. And we'll be back with Magda Markosyan and her life story.
What's the best word in American English?
My all-time favorite word is but I usually refer to it as lovemaking.
Become more fluent in American English and slang.
We're back in the studio with Magajan. And let's move to your profession and what you do now. Please share a little bit about MAROG and how you started it and what inspired you. And
So it will be 8 years since I started MAROG. It's a creative agency I founded with my friend. We started off as a small company and it's growing now. We have 18 people working permanently in our team and a lot more working outside the team. So we are in the creative industry. We do a lot of things.
And what do you do now?
We do branding, digital marketing. We do events. And we do all kinds of things that is connected with communication, advertising, branding, websites. So we have the biggest project currently running for digital marketing is the WCIT. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Mm-hmm. We're looking
It's
forward.
kind of hard not to in this city right now.
And we're looking forward for tomorrow's concert, the opening. Right?
Yeah, it's going to be
with
something.
A DJ.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, with Armin van Buuren.
Yeah.
No less. I mean, he's a legend.
Yeah, he is a legend, and there is a lot more is going to happen there. There is an AI music that is going to be performed by an orchestra that is gathered together from all around the world.
So people out there, be
AI
there tomorrow.
Music.
Tomorrow,
Yes.
what time?
Can you
AI
explain
music?
that to
So
me?
it's music composed by AI, artificial intelligence.
I
cannot
stay
explain
as
that.
far away from that as possible.
So what
You have to see that. You have
offends
to
me.
hear that.
What time is the show starting tomorrow?
Oh well, the show itself starts at 7.
Okay, so tomorrow evening, just be there, guys.
Yeah, be there.
In other words, if you want to drive around Yerevan tomorrow,
Don't do
do
it.
it before like 5 o'clock.
No,
Otherwise,
or don't do it
or just don't
because the
do it.
center is
Don't do it
going
at
to be
all.
just.
Yeah, her Aparak is going to be closed down. For
It
this.
is. So be there as early as you can. Enjoy your sunny weather, and wait for the performance.
Magajan, what is your teaching experience? Since we're talking about teaching,
Yeah.
your mentoring, teaching, how did it all start?
I don't know how it started, but I've never been involved as a full-time teacher, lecturer, or anything like that ever, anywhere. But I've always enjoyed teaching, and it's been several experiences I had in my life. It was doing trainings and workshops for groups or for companies. I've been a speaker for leadership talks, I was also invited to this Flex 25-year anniversary I was pregnant with this belly. I was giving a talk there. And I also founded this International School of Marketing several years ago. It's put on hold for now, but we did courses in digital marketing and marketing in general for students who live in Armenia and who cannot go abroad and who can't afford abroad education. So we brought together a lot of expert trainers together. None of them were trainers or lecturers or anything like that, but we made TOT, and all of us had our own input in our own industries in terms of establishing this network of professionals, passing on this knowledge to those who really wanted to dive into marketing.
That's great. That sounds
cool.
like a great project, a great resource.
Can I have an autograph? And what did you learn from your teaching experiences? What is one of the most important things that you learned from that?
That's a challenging question. I think the teaching itself, what I mean by teaching itself is how to pass on the knowledge that you have to the person in front of you, and never being in the brain of that person, never understanding if that knowledge is really accepted or not.
If they really need it.
So that's why I came up with this concept of challenging people while educating. If I'm in teaching process, even if I'm in the working process, because I also lead teams, and I want to make sure that it's not that what I say they do, but I say something, they analyze and do it on their own, with their own perspective, and do it out of box. So the out-of-box thinking, that's something I want to push forward, and also alternative thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So the critical thinking, I'm sure you've heard of Aristotle. He was the founder of this method.
Stephen?
Who?
It was an old guy.
Eris what?
Eris what?
The toad. Yeah, so I like to challenge people, and one of my recent challenges was in 2016 when I was invited to Lee Iacocca Institute for a business program. I was a mentor there for a project that was a real project for a real client, but there were students working on it. And some of them did have backgrounds, others didn't have this background, and they hated me because I never answered their questions. But I asked them the right questions.
I don't know. You know better.
You would answer their questions with a question, and
yeah,
look at
kind
you
of like that. I would put some kind of other problems. They were thinking about another problem. I would see they were going the wrong way, so I would put in another problem for them, and they were like, "Oh, this is not enough, and this." She was challenging us, but at the end we got the best project possible, because the client just threw this long letter to the director and said this was the most amazing thing that I've ever received from the students. So I think that works. I think people need to be challenged at especially nowadays when internet is there, when everything is available. You don't have to, scroll to go to the libraries and dig into these old books and stuff, because everything is on the internet. You can really find any information you need. So and it's actually limiting people's thinking. So I want to make people think, not to
Well, yeah, it used to be. Yeah. I mean, it used to be.
And it's the most challenging thing, actually. Yeah, because people don't appreciate that at first. They think that
you're being a brat.
Yeah. Oh, that's the word.
You're making my life much more difficult than it has to be. Stop.
Right. But eventually, they'll be thankful.
Hopefully.
Well, I think so.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay if they're not.
Screw them.
Every once in a while, there's one that is, and that makes it mostly worthwhile.
Yeah. Right.
What is that a teacher should never do?
Teacher or mentor?
Never teach something she's not or he's not. So, for instance, I teach walking the right way, and I walk, crooked. Mm-hmm. So That's a stupid example, I guess. But
Yeah, but then how does that
That's alternative thinking.
how does that fit with the old saying, those that can't do teach?
I'm sorry?
You've heard the saying.
Yeah?
Those that can do. Those that can't do, teach.
Well, that's what I don't like, teaching like and like full-time thing, because when you're in that, you're just doing teaching. You can't do. You don't have time for doing. It's not that the teachers, all of them, or people who work in universities, they're not worth anything. No, maybe they've already had this background they want to share with others. And some of them, yes, are just teaching. So I don't like this teaching thing, because I don't like to bring. I like to bring the real life.
You don't like double stuff, do you? Teaching.
No, I mean, I like to
It's
bring
just so
the
repetitive.
practical knowledge into this teaching, because it doesn't make any sense. If I don't understand what I teach, I cannot teach that to somebody else.
Yeah, not only theory, practicing as well. Can I ask another question? It seems like I keep asking the questions.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. What would you change about yourself?
A lot of things.
Like,
we've got time.
Yeah, we've got 14 more minutes. So,
you mean in the concept of teaching?
In any concept.
In any concept.
Like picking your nose in public or stuff like
I don't do that.
But do you want to?
Oh, no. That's disgusting, guys.
Sometimes I do.
I really want to do that. I just don't have the self-confidence to be able to pull it off.
Just do it. Don't be afraid.
Okay.
Bring us with you out in the public and we'll cheer you on.
This is a
I'll text you when I decide to do that.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
We'll be
to
there.
support you. So what is that one or two things that first come to your mind that you would like to change?
I'll probably like to be more fit. That's the only thing that just came up to my
you're
mind.
Beautiful. Forget that. Anything else? So you're that ideal.
Every time I think of myself, I think that this is not what I want. This is not what, and every day I want to improve. I improve, and then I get stuck there because I think that's not what I want.
But
so
that's a good thing.
I'm a perfectionist, so that's why I really, I mean it. I don't like anything about myself, and I like to improve every day.
So you would like to
that's pretty harsh.
stuff about yourself?
What do I like about myself?
Don't be so harsh.
That's me.
Okay, another question. I've got bunches of questions here. So, okay, since we were talking about a car, if you had a chance to have any person in the world to be your mentor for one day, who would that be?
A mentor.
Brad
Mahatma
Pitt.
Gandhi?
Brad Pitt.
No.
I don't know.
I think Mahatma Gandhi, because whatever he wrote about life is exactly how I think about life, and I really feel this connection. I think that's the person. I don't know. I might have a different answer tomorrow, but...
Okay, so then let's change the question slightly. It has to be a living person.
A living person.
Master Steve.
What?
I don't know.
It's already been embarrassing enough. Living person.
A living person.
A living person.
Okay, well, you think about this. Maybe another question which comes from the past. Is there a person whom you consider a great lifetime mentor that has been in your life already?
Mentor, it's a different thing for myself, but there are things that make me better with this person. I mean, with this person in my life, that's my mother, and she knows about that.
Hello, that's Lucia.
Yeah, she makes me stronger. She makes me better. She doesn't know about this. She doesn't know how she does this, but
now she knows.
She has this impact in my life. Yeah.
Good. Nice
That's
answer.
nice.
Yeah. A wise woman's answer.
Oh.
Okay. Steven, it's your star time.
What were you already talked a little bit about, like your frequent travels to the U.S., your addiction to going to the U.S. What name like your top two most memorable or the top two most influential experiences you had there?
That was the Flex program, definitely. That it changed my life totally.
And mine as well.
Yeah, I think everyone's
yeah.
life. It changed everyone's life who's been a part of it.
What specifically about that? I mean, was it the education? Was it the place? Was it being away from home?
For me, particularly, it was this freedom I got. I was never.
Freedom?
Yes, the freedom.
And the barbecue.
I would.
Going back to
I wouldn't agree. I think
The s'mores, I would say.
You obviously had two very different host families.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I still keep in touch with my host family. It's like my American family. Not even the second family, but it's my American family that lives away. And I keep seeing them when I go to the States. My host sister, who was 5 years old when I went to U.S., she is now married a woman, and she's a teacher, apparently.
Wow.
So she's planning also
What a
to
coincidence.
travel to Armenia with her husband now. It's weird to say her husband because I think of her as this
It's a
5-year-old.
5-year-old, yeah. Boy, they're marrying young these days in the U.S.
Yeah, it was definitely the host family, one of the factors. If I didn't have this host family, I might have not talked about this like this, a freedom like this, and because that's what really supported me. First of all, and also this independent thing, 15-year-old. Any 15-year-old would want this freedom. Any 15-year-old would want to live away from home for a while. And it was kind of this adventurous feeling that got me there. And I was like, oh, yes, I'm in America. And it just, it changes you in a better way. Yeah, some people change not in a better way, but...
Yeah. Some of
Can
them.
you share
Yeah,
any
some of them.
example?
Well, after the program, I might.
So that's your number one.
That's number one.
Number two?
And number two, that was definitely this program, the business program, Global Village for Future Leaders of Business and Industry. It's a program designed for people who are going to or are in business industries. Back then it was the eight-week program. Now it's a 6-week program. I don't remember exactly, but it changed. The program changed with the time. But in my year, we had almost 52 or 3 countries, students from 52 or 3 countries. About 108, 105 students. So these people were either students, but most of them were established like business owners, executives, marketing executives, financial executives, etc. So it was something that I gained, not the knowledge itself, that also because executives from around this area would come and have sessions with the students. But this network that we gained. So that was the most valuable thing I gained as a result of this program.
At the end of the day, it's all about people. And
Yeah, it
connections.
is. It is.
So,
Now, where's your favorite place in
On
the
Earth?
U.S.?
In the U.S.
It's the Great American Weekend.
McDonald's.
We're going to be American-centric.
American.
Remember how we landed in Chicago and we saw McDonald's for the first time.
So you two flew over
McDonald's.
together.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And the flight was delayed, apparently. And we got a hotel stay. We were like, oh, yes! We're going to stay at a hotel.
In Chicago. And we were like, oh, McDonald's. There's a McDonald's out there. Is it too expensive? Can we buy stuff there?
Yeah.
We didn't have any clue how much it costed. But of course, we had money with us prepared by our parents.
Yeah.
Sued in little.
That was funny.
My mom put it in some like material, like a little cloth, so I don't lose it during the long flight, and I had to put it somewhere inside pants.
Don't lose it. Don't get it stolen.
Yeah.
Don't spend it all in one place, especially not at McDonald's.
So where is your favorite place?
I have several favorite places, but I love New York, definitely. I loved it even before I went there. I love it still after going there.
Did you get to see it in 2011?
In 2011?
2001.
2001, yeah.
No, in
September
2001, I never saw it.
Because were your parents calling you from here and saying, "Oh,
Yeah,
don't go there"?
yeah. Well,
It was a
if you
panic.
remember, the
September
government
11.
was about to send us back home, and they gave us this notice to wait for a week or 10 days until they
To see
decided
what's
they're
going
sending
on.
us back home, or we're staying there, we're safe. It was.
So because of the
Something.
September 11th attacks,
Yeah, and we
you
had a
guys were there
friend
at
who
the
was
time.
supposedly he was there supposedly. We
Hike.
knew he was gonna we knew he was gonna go there at that time, and then like after a couple of days we heard from him and he said no, my trip was postponed, or he went there earlier than he was planning to, so he wasn't there luckily.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, let's say hello to all our flex.
Yeah, hey. I think Anna is watching us.
2001, 2002 flexies.
Hi.
hello, people out there. Yeah, it was a great year actually, and after that as well, we had a after departure orientation.
Yeah, everyone was
cultural
crying.
shock. Yeah.
I don't think anyone had a cultural shock when they went to the States. we were in a bad
Which I think is a sign that you
depression when
had watched way too much television before you went there.
And the very last question, since we're out of time, that happens often. Time flies here. So.
Yeah.
So you see, there was nothing to be worried about. Was it?
No.
No.
I wasn't worried.
Okay, so the last question about teaching. What makes a good teacher?
Patience.
Thank you.
That's it.
Well, so maybe we do have time for another question, right? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, 1 minute.
I'd like to thank you guys if you don't have questions. You do?
No.
Do you have anything to add?
I was going to ask
I just
if you
really
have
enjoyed
any
this time
advice or anything
together.
for-
I really enjoyed this time spent together. It kind of brought me to my U.S. Family, memories. I really enjoyed it.
Because
Thank
this
you
is
for
the Great
inviting
American
me.
Weekend.
Yeah.
It's the next best thing to actually going to the States for the weekend.
I loved it.
So whenever you miss it, you're welcome. Every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. We're here. To make you feel
Don't
like
overdo
you're
with that invitation,
second
you know.
home.
Anything that I like to advise is just be open to knowledge, but take whatever is important for yourself, because again, nowadays, because of this open data and open source information, people get distracted really easily. I want everyone to be on their path, find their path, find whatever they really like and really love, and go for it, and use that knowledge they need. Don't go for any knowledge. It's just a waste of time, and you have only one life.
Follow your dreams, says Magda Markosyan at the Great American Weekend.
Follow your path.
Follow your path of
Right.
dreams.
Don't
Yeah,
get-
it's the same for myself.
Don't get
I want
off
to edit
wandering
it a
in
little
the
bit.
woods, i.e.
she got me
wandering
right.
in the internet.
Yeah, we understand each other, Master Steve. It's a flex thing. You guys stay tuned because we've got our regular calendar of events
coming up after the break.
Yeah, and thanks to Maga once again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
joining
inviting
us.
We enjoyed it, and you really fit in our studio with your nice shirt. We'll be back shortly with our calendar of events. A few more minutes to go.
Oh, say, can you see?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed?
Adamast, what are you doing?
He's trying not to forget where he came from.
We're back in the studio, ready for the calendar of events for the upcoming week. And let's start with American Corner Yerevan program.
So, American Corner has its Art in Conversation this week. An activity with Jim Daly. Are you interested in art? Would you like to discuss the life and work of your favorite artist? Then join this new club, Art in Conversation, every Tuesday at 1 p.m. This week, they will be talking about the life and works of Ivan Ivanovsky, whose real name was Hovhannes Ayvazyan, as well as William Turner and Winslow Homer. Please be informed that the club is for people with intermediate and advanced level English skills, but you don't need a formal background in art to participate. There is the reading club as well. If you enjoy a good story and want to expand your vocabulary as well as practice your listening and speaking skills, join the Yerevan American Corners Reading Club with Clark Long every Tuesday at 3 p.m. This week, they will be reading and discussing the thrilling tale of how Robert Smalls seized a Confederate ship and sailed it to freedom. An intermediate level of English is required for participation in this club.
Now we're ready for movies in English at Kino Park, and I won't dare to do that as Hazvat did.
No accents anymore.
Yeah, because it was his own
So October
copyright.
6th to the 9th, we've got The Joker, which is a new film, a 2019 film, another version of the Joker story, the famous
it's
character.
great. I watched it.
Oh, really?
It's awesome.
I've heard a lot about it, and I'm thinking that I want to see it.
The
it
actor,
sounds...
it's amazing. What he
Okay,
did.
Phoenix, right?
Yeah, I really recommend.
So it's American psychological thriller based on the character of the Joker from the Batman comic books. It's at 5 o'clock and 9:15 every day. Abominable. It's another new film. It's a computer animated adventure film, and that shows at 4:30 p.m. And Ad Astra at 1:10. It's an American science fiction film starring Brad Pitt, with also some philosophical and relational elements. It explores relationships and
Have you watched
technology.
Interstellar?
No, I haven't. I don't watch that many movies.
Yeah, but I think it kind of reminds that.
Okay.
I haven't watched it yet, but that's just my guess. So for those of you guys who like this genre, go ahead and watch it. Now we have opera and ballet. We've got two things. Andrea Chenier opera concert performance, October 7th at 7 p.m. and Anush opera in 3 acts, October 11th at 7 p.m. And now let's move to live music.
So we've got MAROG, formerly known as Me, Him, Her, and the Other Guy, a local rock band, playing live at the venue tomorrow night, October 6th at 9:30. We've got David Geodakian's Sextet at Uli Hanyan. For those of you that don't like rock, you can go check out some jazz. Dave Geodakian tomorrow night at Uli Hanyan at 8:30. The double piano concert with Vahagan Hydropitzian and Haik Shakarian at Uli Hanyan on October 7th at 8:30. The band is playing at Mezzo Music Club on October 7th at 8:30. We've got Samvel Gasparian, his trio, with Arsen Mirsisian as a special guest at Uli Hanyan on October 8th at 8:30. Project 12 is at Club 12. with a new music program on October 9th at 9:30. Vahagan Hydropetyan's trio is playing at Ulihanyan on October 10th. That starts at 8:30. Magda Markosyan is at Mezzo Music Club on October 9th. Yellowstone's band is playing with Levon Sarkisian. Rock and roll, blues, and funk is in their playlist. Their set list on the 10th. We have the opening concert for the WCTI. We talked about that. You've got Sergei Simbatyan conducting, a world-famous DJ and producer, Armin van Buuren. He is a legend.
Yeah, so make sure you don't miss
music.
this
so
one.
So go check that out. That is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. in Republic Square. What else? We've got a tribute to Roy Hargrove by David Melkonyan at Ulihanyan on the 11th.
We've got Kamarama with Hop Dop and Arto Tunç Boyacan Pausand Vyutnov at Polygraph, October 11th at 10 a.m. And we also have Yerevan hosting OHMME.
I left that one for you because I had no idea how to deal with that.
They come from Chicago, Illinois. The aggressively melodic duo of Sima Cunningham and Macy Stewart at Mersoyan Library, October 6th at 8 p.m.
And we've got a festival. We've got the Kufta Festival in Echmiadzin, the Echmiadzin municipality, on October 8th from 2:30 to 7 p.m.
In the clubs, we have 44 kilowatt program with DJs Yodza, Max, Danielian, Sergio, B2B, Vahe Almoyan at Terian 91, October 12th at 10 p.m. And also there's a special dancing show which is called We. Inclusive Contemporary Dance Performance will be live at Hovhannes Tumanyan Puppet Theater of Yerevan, October 7th at 7 p.m. And this is all we have for this upcoming week for you guys. We enjoyed this show after a little break, and we're ready for the next one next Saturday.
We'll be here every Saturday in October, bringing you the Great American Weekend here on Radio Von. Ina MK.
And thank you, Master Steve. And once again, congratulations with the Teachers International
Day. Thank you very
Day.
much for all your well wishes on this Teachers Day.
It was exciting for you, I think. You guys enjoy the rest of the weekend and get ready for a working week.
No, get ready for the concerts tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Take your pick. We've got techno, we've got jazz, we've got rock and roll.
Yeah, we've got everything for you.
What a great Sunday night.
The Great American Weekend, Radio Von. Good night.